Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts every single day. Rudolph, Meghan coming to you live as the Avs win over the Buffalo Sabres 6-4. It was a little squirrely at times, to say the least, but definitely an exciting game all the way around. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything. Megan's going to do the longest rundown of the season here, so... Well, we're giving her 2 minutes for the record.
The 30-minute rundown.
That's the whole pod, is you just running down the game. Perfect.
Show.
Make my job really easy.
Technically, that's what the show is, just running down the whole fucking game.
I'm nervous.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
All right, the first period, MacKinnon showed a little deception handling the puck to send it to Compher at the net front without looking, and Compher caught it at the net front with his skate first. He sent it in on the power play. Avs struggled on the back check in transition, and Quinn got the puck in the slot. McDonald was in a little too deep, and Peterka scored from the right circle. LOC held Peterka and took a penalty. AJ laid down to make the block. Tage Thompson recovered it and baited Georgiev to pull forward, and it went backdoor. Avs killed 2 of 3 penalties in that first period, controlled 5-on-5, but needed to stay out of the box. In that second period, a lot of shenanigans. I saw our son, Foudy. MacKinnon scored 5-on-3 high in the slot. MacKinnon scored shortly after. Makar and MacKinnon then, after that, got in the zone pretty easy, and MacKinnon got it from Makar in the slot once again. But then Tage Thompson set up from the point on their 5-on-3. Dylan Cozens received the pass, wound it up, and fired it in. At the end of that second period, Cogliano, OC, they led the rush. OC shot, rebounds. Compher gets it for his second goal of the night. Into the third period, Avs broke down defensively off the opening faceoff, and Alex Tuck scored to bring it 5-4. Avs managed to withstand the rest of that period. They scored on 3 of 6 power plays, killed 5 of 7 PKs, and won 6-4.
Well done. Only needed a minute 20.
Only needed a minute 20.
I'm still going to let it roll, and you guys are talking, I'll just randomly press it.
All right. After taking all that in, let's wind it all the way back to the first period. It's a road game. You get the start you want. The Avs are the team to score first, go up 1-0. And we can kind of expand this one. We'll end up all over the place here. But Avs power play, once again, not the full difference in this game, but certainly critical to keeping the Avs in it early and ultimately get over the hump.
Absolutely. It did a lot of the heavy lifting, and we talked about how that might be something we'd like to see change a little bit in December, but not because we'd like them to lay up on it, just because that top unit's doing a lot of the heavy lifting. It's great to see JT Compher in general have the night that he has, but his influence on the power play tonight was definitely a big help to the Avs.
Yep. And the Avs need some of that. They got great performances out of their stars tonight. We'll get to that. But for the Avs to win games on a consistent basis, especially on a night where, look, I don't think Georgiev was bad, but this wasn't a game that he stole for the Avs. The Avs needed to score tonight to get it done. And you needed JT Compher to pitch in on those types of nights. And he did more than pitch in.
Absolutely.
At a 4-point night. But without that depth, I look at it this way. You kind of need at least 2 of 4 things every night. You need your stars to produce, you need quality defense, you need your depth to produce, and you need goaltending. 2, at least 3 of those things ideally to get a win on any given night.
Right.
Tonight it was your stars and your depth producing for the Avs. So that was JT Compher's role tonight, and he shone very brightly in it. For the rest of the team, I'll let you. I won't try and change your views on it. How did you feel about the Avs' first period as a whole?
I thought it was a great first period. Seeing how they let up at the beginning of the third period, I may have maybe wanted a little more in the first. But honestly, couldn't have asked for more of the first period, especially just given where the Avs is coming into tonight in the thinned-out roster. I was pretty happy with how they controlled things 5-on-5. Only criticism would be penalties, and that's an overarching criticism of the game entirely. It caused a lot of disruption in the flow of the game the entire time. And so that would be my criticism of the first.
And I 100% agree. If that period had ended 1-1, I think you're perfectly happy with that for the Avs. The late penalty was really the killer for that period for me. And look, I understand there were some pretty soft calls tonight, but I guarantee you Jared Bednar is going, hey, can't take 7 penalties in a hockey game. That's too many. You just can't do it. So I would be very surprised if the Avs were happy with certainly that part of their game tonight. I think there are things to be happy about, but their job tonight could have been a lot easier if they took a few less penalties. Put it that way. So 100% agree on that front. Honestly, kind of a weird game at 5-on-5. The majority of it, I think the Avs played pretty decently for. There were just some lapses here and there, right? So
Definitely.
Don't completely hate it. Getting into that second Buffalo goal, we saw EJ slide a lot tonight. Too much sliding or just kind of unfortunate bounces?
Honestly, that one, I'm not super faulting EJ. I wish he would have gotten up a little bit sooner because his body created chaos around the puck that Buffalo was able to recover. And because he's sprawled out on the ground, he's not able to do that. So that required other Avs players moving out of position to respond to that, and that just created opportunity. So it's hard to fault him for laying the body down to block because he should be doing that, but he has to get up quicker. And I don't know if he has that bounce in his step.
The knees
quite
aren't
the same
quite
way.
like they used to be.
So it's really hard. Like, that is exactly what I'd like to see him doing, but it also created a problem because he couldn't get up quickly enough.
Okay, so not the slide, but the after.
The after, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
Then you got, I don't know, when you're on the ground, then you got to be doing something
Instead of
more
just
coordinated.
full planking.
Exactly. You got to be doing something from the ground then.
Okay. Good answer. Good answer, as they say on Family Feud. It's so tough because the Avs are so depleted. When they take 3 penalties in a period, it's not like, oh, okay, that's fine. We'll just rotate in JT Compher on the penalty kill, which they would. But, they can't rotate in Val Nichushkin. They can't rotate in Gabe Landeskog when they take a few too many penalties, and they're not going to trust guys like Jason Meghan to do those jobs. So you end up really taking the legs out of your penalty killers with 3 PKs in the same period. Is that really the problem there? Probably not. I think you put it really well. The rotations required because of EJ's slide just left one side of the ice entirely open. And that's bad, it turns out.
And you've got Logan O'Connor in the box.
Yep.
One of your best penalty killers. So it just is a
another
formula
knock
for
there.
failure.
Yep, 100%. Unfortunate that that was the way the first period ended, but the second period was the Avs you wanted to see.
It was chaotic.
It was. There was a lot of weirdness, for sure, both in the penalty department and just generally in the game. Lots of bouncing pucks, lots of stuff heading all over the place. So that's hockey, though. You gotta play through that. You gotta find a way to beat a better team. Ultimately, the Avs did that tonight. Do you think this is good enough with this lineup, or do you think there's more to give here for Colorado?
I feel like I won't stop talking about what I want the potential for Newhook to be. And kind of similarly, Galchenyuk, just because of opportunities we saw where they specifically might have left a little bit on the table that I expected more from. Because then the other part of that is looking at Dryden Hunt, Jason Megna, Anton Bleed. Didn't really expect more for them, just like on the flip
There's
side
a hard
of that.
ceiling there, for
right.
sure.
But looking at that line with Newhook, Galchenyuk, and to an extent Foudy, I still think they have a little bit more to give.
I hope so. I hope you're right. We did talk about it tonight, though. Look, through 2 games, Alex Galchenyuk has been better than a bunch of those guys you just named. Is he changing the game for the Avs? No, but I think it's pretty easy to see how this guy could end up with a job once the Avs start to get healthy.
Right.
So hopefully there is that little bit more there, whether it's offensive ability or whatever. But I really didn't have any complaints about him tonight. He had a good defensive play or two. He wasn't out there making the Avs' job harder. Nice enough. I'm curious what you thought of Foudy's game, though.
I really thought, especially like in his first, I think it was his very first shift, that there was this pass to Newhook in the slot from the corner, and then there was another pass shortly after that in that same shift that just wasn't received well, that I thought demonstrated some of the playmaking abilities that I know he's capable of.
Yep.
And there does seem to be chemistry building in the short time we've seen between Newhook and Foudy specifically. That excites me a little bit. It's that creativity that I know is important. But the other side of this, too, is we see how Foudy's physicality stacks up against NHL-sized players, and we see that he lacks a little bit of sandpaper in his game that is necessary at the NHL level. So, like, on the whole, I was really excited with how well Foudy fit in because I still view him as a little bit young to be in an NHL lineup regularly.
Yeah.
But I'm still excited by what he teases at in his creativity, playmaking ability. There's just a few things on getting grittiness, that edge to his game, that he could probably stand to work on a bit.
So, let's say perfect world, the Avs get back from this road trip. Helm's good to go. Both Foudy and Galchenyuk safe?
I wouldn't count on Foudy being safe.
Fair enough.
And he's in the lowest risk position to return to Loveland and help out a team that is also in dire straits right now. Like, they're winning games, don't get me wrong, but they are constructed of a lot of ECHL call-ups. A new PTO guy has joined the team. Like, they could definitely use Foudy back.
Fair enough. I'm just curious if you thought maybe an Anton Bleed would get sent down first.
So, I hope so. But I'm not sure what the Avs do in that case.
And yeah, to be clear, I think it will be Foudy as well, specifically because Jared Bednar looks at him bottom six and almost always goes with the guy who he trusts more defensively. And regardless of what you think of Anton Bleed's play, Bednar sees him as a defense first forward in the bottom six. So my expectation would be it is Foudy, but I was curious if there's maybe a chance that with some solid play he could stick, at least until the Avs get healthier.
I guess we'll have to see what he does in Boston.
Yeah, he's got another game or two here, maybe. So, Boston could be an interesting game. I'll leave it at that. We'll talk about it when we get there. Wanted to get back to the power play. I think something happens with people who watch a lot of the NHL, myself included, Jesse included, where we get really jaded about the 5-on-3. We expect things to look a lot better and teams to score automatically on 5-on-3s, and it's just not actually the case. If you were watching the watch along, Jesse and I were both being like, wow, this 5-on-3 is so stagnant. This is bad. We don't like this. But it didn't matter because turns out the whole point of a 5-on-3 is there's more room out there. And once Nathan MacKinnon found it, it was in the back of the net. Are you as jaded as we are, Meghan, or are you a little bit more positive about it?
I feel maybe more neutral about it. It does feel to me like anytime you have a man advantage, but especially when you have two-man advantage, right? You have to capitalize on that, and because that's the expectation when you have just one-man advantage. And so it's not so different from how I feel about the Avs capitalizing on the power play, which they have demonstrated an acumen to do. So I have an expectation, and it's a standard I've set for the Avs specifically, but I felt like they weren't moving their feet as much as I expected them to right at the start of that 5-on-3, but I think we all stood corrected when they just pose enough of a threat, even if they look a bit stagnant, that it doesn't matter.
It's funny, right? Because, yeah, they were standing still, and you'd like to see them move their feet more. I think that's a fair criticism. But at the same time, sometimes it's not the big swooping movements that are important. It's the 6 inches MacKinnon moves to the left to open up that shooting lane, and that's all he needs. Puck's in the back. So there's more minutia to it than, they're all just standing still. I just wanted to put that out there as a self-burn as much as anything. Is like, you know what? Sometimes they know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. I felt, too, the power play as a whole, MacKinnon specifically took different looks, and I think it benefited him tonight
Yep.
too. And so that's why I throw the judgment to him on that type of thing, and he had great judgment tonight.
And it's a good point about the different looks. We've seen MacKinnon work up high. We've seen Mikko work up high. They did it with Compher on that 5-on-3 in that high forward spot. So while there might not necessarily be movement in the moment, there still are players in different positions around the ice throwing different stuff at the other team.
Right.
So very good point there. Then, of course, look, they go from people worried about them not scoring on that 5-on-3 to they score on the 5-on-3 and the rest of the 5-on-4 after it. So
You can't really ask for more.
yeah, literally doing the thing that you want them to do. They end up 3 for 6 on the power play. We already talked about it, but 50% is pretty good. Hard to ask for more than that, for sure. On that note, we are brought to you by the amazing people over at DraftKings Sportsbook. You can use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account with them to bet $5 on any NHL team. And if they win their next game, you get $150 in free bets. So jump on it right now. What's a good team to bet on right now? I never feel comfortable because it's like, oh yeah, bet on New Jersey, but it's like, oh, they've won too many games.
Right.
That
Now
loss
it's when the tide turns.
Yeah, right. So pick wisely. Maybe go like tonight. Find a team playing a team on a second half of a back-to-back. Bet against them. You'll be good to go. DraftKings, of course, has tons of other bets, whether it be in hockey or pretty much any other sport under the sun. You can get a good bet in going on Thursday Night Football right now. So that's where everyone was instead of at the Sabres Stadium because there were a lot of empty seats in that building, let me tell you. Head on over to DraftKings. Use the DNVR code when you sign up. It must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Other terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. See the show notes down below for details. And, of course, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. We're also brought to you by Pins and Aces, the official golf apparel merchandiser of DNVR. If you haven't seen their golf towels, they're so cool. It's such a weird, silly thing. It's so cool seeing the DNVR logo on a towel.
That's true.
I just think it's dope. So you can get that. Of course, you can also get shirts, hats, pants, or most importantly, the beer koozie to put in your golf bag. Holds 7 beers, keeps them cold for you. You can bring them right onto the course with you and have a good time in your rounds. Check them out at pinsandaces.com and use the DNVR code to get, I think it's 15% off and free shipping. It might only be 10%. I don't want to oversell it. But you get a discount and free shipping with the DNVR code at pinsandaces.com. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast and a lot more goals to go.
That second period.
It popped off. It popped off hard in the second period. Meghan, you're the one always talking about how the Avs apply pressure. Yes, there were weird bounces. Was it the applying pressure in the second period that paid off, or was this the Avs capitalizing on opportunities that were given to them?
Truthfully, it feels like the Avs capitalizing on opportunities that were given to them because 2 of those come about 5-on-3 and then the subsequent 5-on-4.
Sure.
And so you expect them to do that, right? And they have to apply pressure to capitalize on those chances. But I think it was given to them, theirs to lose, that kind of thing, a little more easily, if you will, than when I talk about applying pressure. But it's exactly what they needed to do. So I'm not faulting them for that whatsoever.
There is certainly a difference between forcing a team into an error and capitalizing on an unforced one, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, the result is the same. You either score or you don't. But you feel very differently about the flow of the game depending on which ones are happening. Again, with that being said, I don't think the Avs played all that bad tonight. In fact, I think they played good, certainly in the offensive zone. They outshot Buffalo during the parts of the game that it mattered. Yes, things got weird. What do you think, outside of the penalty, what else do the Avs need to improve?
If I have to come up with something,
I'm going to make you do it.
Man, this feels like it doesn't need to be this difficult. I'm just so happy with what they did tonight. And we talked about the formula, right? Depth score. I guess there may be some of the bottom pairing defensemen. I'd like to see stronger performances. I think a lot of Taves Makar did heavy lifting, emphasis on Makar.
Played over 30 minutes tonight.
Yes, I personally feel like Makar had a good night defensively too. Taves, that third period start was really a rough look for him.
That was weird.
And then on the whole, I think just had some touch and go moments. Still a great top pairing defenseman, right? But maybe that's where I'd like to see the Avs see reinforcement too. Right now, their decor is another area that's affected by absences.
Great. You said that, and Josh Manson falling over came flooding back into my brain.
Ghosts definitely do exist, because there's no way Josh Manson falls without being touched in that moment unless the ghosts exist.
Confirmed. Sabres are haunted for sure.
I wanted to talk about how I actually feel Georgiev had a fine night.
Yeah, agree.
A lot of it spent, defending on the kill alongside his team, and he stops a lot of high danger chances too. I think he stops 10 of 12, because Buffalo, though the scoring chances were distributed pretty evenly among these teams, Buffalo, especially as a result of being on the power play throughout points of this game, really tested Georgiev. And so that's not an area that I point to with a lot of concern either. So maybe just buffing up defensively, especially in the two bottom pairs there.
I just don't know which of these goals do you fault Georgiev on. Sure, the power play goal that Thompson scored, maybe you'd like to see him play it a little less aggressively, but that's still a wide open dude with half the ice to play with. The Dylan Cousins one on the 5-on-3 is an unreal shot. Alex Tuck on a breakaway later.
That was tough, too, because there's even this part of me that maybe even Georgiev was ready to try and play that puck himself.
Yeah, he got
and then
caught halfway
saw
a little bit, for sure.
what was happening, and that Taves was not going to make it back in time.
Yeah, and there's back and forth there, right? When Taves make a mistake, you would love to see Georgiev bail him out.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that Taves didn't make a mistake, that Georgiev wasn't able to stop it. So 100% agree, put zero fault on the 4 goals towards Georgiev tonight. And he never gave up the critical goal, right? The Avs were never down by more than 1 in this game. While Buffalo did push back, they never got closer to within 1 in the second and third periods. So
just trying to remember, in the third, there was that, I think it was a breakaway chance that Buffalo was given. A skater in all alone, gets stopped, could have changed the course of that entire game.
Definitely made a few solid ones on Buffalo. Had a number of chances cutting through the middle one way or another in the third period that you don't love, but...
No, Avs still win this game, right?
Yep, exactly. And again, understanding the context of the Avs roster right now, if the end result is Avs win the game, honestly, how it got made, don't overthink it.
If you had to come up with a criticism, I think we were looking at the second period specifically, but just outside of penalties, what would yours be?
So the one criticism I have does circle around that 4th goal for the Sabres. As the Avs are constructed right now, they're not a team that can afford to take shifts off. You cannot have a shift where you just fall asleep like that. Thankfully, they had the cushion with the lead that they get away with it in this one, but shifts like that are how you end up losing the game like they did to Vancouver a couple nights ago, a week ago, really. Those ones, that feels like a team that got a little bit too comfortable in the game in that moment. Yeah, and is it a deep concern? No, but it's something you'd like to see them clean up, for sure.
Definitely.
So, is what it is. Thankfully, the Avs have a bunch of offensive dynamos on this team. You already mentioned it. They scored 3 straight in the second period, 2 of them coming from MacKinnon. More importantly, MacKinnon getting some production at 5-on-5. The 5-on-5 offense was better tonight. Ultimately, the Avs pick up 2 goals at 5-on-5 in the second period. Is that good enough? Do the Avs need better 5-on-5 stuff from, you kind of already alluded to the new hook line. Do they need that, or is that gravy on top?
Eventually.
Okay.
Eventually, because I don't know how sustainable it is for nights like tonight where the stars show up and they have a lot of opportunities with special teams to make it happen outside of 5-on-5. But it just feels like a magic trick that will not perform for the entire season. So you'd like to see them figure it out 5-on-5.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's a worry for me in the regular season necessarily, but you understand how important that type of stuff is in the playoffs, where
Right.
all of a sudden, everyone's defending that much harder. Your stars will still be your stars, but 4-point, 5-point nights, rare occurrence in the playoffs. So, and let's face it, while plenty of this team has been there before, you get confidence going into the playoffs because you've done it in the regular season.
Right.
It's definitely part of the deal there. So, yeah, obviously the Cousins goal comes on the 5-on-3. We talked about this live during the game. The Mikko penalty felt a little soft, but
Taves.
of all people, Devon Taves should know better than to take that penalty and put the Avs in a tough spot there. This has kind of been a running theme. You already talked about it a little bit. It's not that Taves is terrible, but
No.
there's just some hiccups in his game here and there. Are you attributing that to this overusage mostly, or is there something else going on there?
I think I'm not even sure I'm sold on that, but that's the closest explanation I can think of, is that
Okay.
it's more glaring and obvious because we're seeing him a lot more. There's more room for mistakes to be made, and attribute to him. But I think we just have come to expect so much from both Taves and Makar that the mistakes that get made are a little more glaring as a result.
Yeah, when the bar is top 10 defensemen in the world,
Yeah.
some nights it's hard to live up to. For sure.
Exactly.
So, and look, I don't want to be completely negative here on Makar and Taves. Like you said, really, Makar played very, very well on the whole tonight. And even with the hiccups for Devon Taves, I believe he had 2 points. It was certainly at least 1 point for him. Yep, 2 assists
Aw.
for Taves, 2 assists for Makar as well. So, you can definitely ask more of him. You don't like that penalty. You don't like the play at the start of the third period. But, he had 2 bad plays and he picks up 2 assists. It evens out a little bit in the end.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't know. This game did feel weird, right? Because so many penalties, so many other weird things going on. There was just very, very little flow. So maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe the Avs deserve a little bit of credit for keeping themselves in this game.
I think they definitely do, because it felt weird from the first period on with the way penalties were being called back and forth. 2 5-on-3s in the second period. It's just a bit strange. And the consistency, too, of how a lot of these penalties were called were a little questionable at times, too. So, as we mentioned, it disrupted the flow of the game. And it's a great win on the road, too.
Yep.
After a pretty disappointing loss in Winnipeg, definitely happy about it.
Yep. And to your point, the third period, I still haven't seen a replay of the Meghan hold. I'm
Curious.
I'm letting that one go. One, because they were pretty consistently calling those holds throughout this game. Even if they were soft, they were at least being consistent about it. The Anton Bleed tripping is just not a trip as far as I can tell. Every angle I've seen is the guy just fell over after the fact.
If that hadn't been called, I would have credited Bleed for a good play.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
But you know what? Even on a night where they did give up 2 penalty kill goals, third period, the couple penalty kills they need to hold on to a 1-goal lead,
Absolutely.
they get the job done.
That's
So,
a penalty kill that was tested a lot this night. And at points, like we mentioned, without Logan O'Connor when
Yep.
he's in the box. And that's one that they do get scored on. But all of it to say, that's still a pretty good penalty kill on the whole.
Yeah. 2 for 7, not anything to write home about, but not killing you on a night you get 3 power play goals. You still win the special teams battle ultimately.
Right.
So,
And I don't normally get to say this, but I think the Avs won the face-off battle, too. JT Compher
that is
individually
rare.
had a terrific night at the face-off dot, and since we talked about it, they only matter situationally. When they matter, they matter. But I think tonight,
They did win the battle 56-44.
let's go.
I don't have the individual stat numbers, but Compher was 66% for how many.
That's
he took.
excellent.
Yep. So, No complaints about the face-offs tonight. One of the most popular complaints about the Avs is that they suck at face-offs. Not tonight. All right. We are also brought to you by this thing that I'm definitely not loading on my screen right now. The amazing people over at Green Mountain Dental. You can go over there, get a cleaning, x-ray, and exam, and get a free Sonicare toothbrush just for taking care of your teeth with the best family dentist in the Denver metro area. They're just 15 minutes from downtown over in Lakewood. I seriously grew up like right by their office. So they're super dope. They're super great at what they do. They'll send you reminders about when you need to get your next cleaning and all that stuff. Trust me, you want to get your teeth cleaned. Otherwise, you'll end up with terrible teeth like me. So make sure you're hitting up Green Mountain Dental, taking care of yourself. And brought to you by Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. They have a bunch of amazing flavors out there. They got their Christmas ale. They got their winter ale. I think it's an ale also. I don't ever know what to say which beers on their reads because they seriously have dozens of beers. So if you like beer at all, I guarantee you they have a beer for you. Go check them out at breckbrew.com, and you can also pick up some dope merch from them over there too. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Is the poll done? Are we good to go on our...
Let me end it. It was done a long time
Okay.
ago.
I saw it a second ago. There were over 100 votes.
Ooh, a lot of voters.
So I think there's something we have to do more often.
Yeah, for sure. It's the fan voted king of the game. It's MacKinnon, right? Like, you guys didn't vote for Compher? Okay, good. You guys chose the correct answer. Not that Compher wasn't great, but a 5-point night from Mac, 2 great goals, and is involved in all but one of the Avs goals with the assists. Sure, one of those is a secondary on the empty netter, but still, this is the night I expected. After the Avs get held scoreless, it's always the big guns that say, put the foot down, we're doing this.
It's true. MacKinnon, Rantanen, thought Makar had a good night too. Wouldn't have pegged JT Compher to have been another part of that equation, but it really was a lot of MacKinnon tonight.
Yep. He was just on and made sure to get it done. Again, all of the critical moments in this hockey game, the 5-on-3, it's Nathan MacKinnon scoring. You get Nathan MacKinnon at 5-on-5 to give them the 2-goal lead, a little bit of cushion and comfortability in a weird hockey game. He's just too good. I don't know how else to put it with Mac.
Even defensively, actually. Thinking back to the third period, I think it was MacKinnon on the back check that defended against a lone skater in. And
at the end of their power play.
He made it look easy, too. And it was a critical defensive moment that was needed, and he made it look easy.
Yep. And you know, the difference tonight, a little bit, you kind of mentioned it, it wasn't necessarily the Avs applying pressure, but the Avs capitalized on chances where Buffalo didn't. That breakaway, Mac tracks that guy down. A couple of other opportunities where Buffalo sends a puck wide. It doesn't quite click for them. For the Avs, it did click offensively. Yes, off of Nathan MacKinnon, but also Makar, Rantanen, even Lehkonen. Pieces got involved for the Avs.
Absolutely. Like, thinking back to the 5-on-5 MacKinnon goal, it starts because of Taves and then Makar and MacKinnon entering the zone, pretty uncontested because they capitalized on a Buffalo mistake in transition, and that you can't make mistakes like that against the Avalanche team and against players like that.
Yep, and not to go unmentioned, well, I think we did already mention it, but JT Compher's second goal off of a quality play from the depth line that he plays on.
Good point.
Logan O'Connor should be getting an assist on that, I believe. So.
Yeah, and Cogs, and they're the ones leading the rush on that. Honestly, OC had a lot of looks tonight.
Yes, he did. Generated well.
The finish is obviously the criticism, but really good looks, and thought he was involved in an important way.
It was Jost. You're right. Mac tracked down Jost.
Oh.
Which I told you before the game, he wasn't scoring on the Avs.
I thought he'd get a point.
No. Jost is a whole other vibe. It's its own special thing.
Jost is a whole other vibe.
Okay. You get through it. They hold it down. Despite the sketchy penalty kills that they did have in the third period, the last portion of the third honestly felt pretty comfortable for this team. They didn't really panic, and they ultimately end up getting the empty netter. It almost felt easier than the rest of the game at the end there. While it was far from perfect, with context, as we've said, it's really hard to take any serious negatives out of a night like tonight. I know we have a bunch of super chats to get to, so let's hit those really quick, and then we'll wrap things up.
Nice job, Briggsy.
$5 from Dylan, who says, first time at the DNVR bar tonight, and gotta say it was pretty dope. Even got a sweet Breck Brew hat and shirt. There you go.
Nice.
Get the good stuff. $2 from Kevin, who says the Mac attack is back, Jack. Yeah, look, there are certain games, so many games every year where it's like, yeah, Nathan MacKinnon's just going to win the Avs a hockey game. And it's a nice benefit of having one of the best players in the world. If he gets any help at all, the Avs win a lot. He got enough help for the Avs to win tonight. $2 from Brazilian Fury, who says, hi, friends. It's been a while. Good to see you all. It has been a while. Good to see you back.
Good to see you.
I forget your name because you changed it. You used to have your actual name, and I'm sorry that I don't remember it.
It's just Brazilian Fury. I don't know what you're talking about.
I remember his picture.
Yeah,
but
the picture is so familiar.
yeah. $2 from Melanie, who says, thanks. Oh, it's a super sticker. Sorry. Thanks, written on top of a purple heart. Thank you, Melanie. And then $2 from Degro, who says the Bruins game will be too crazy. Buckle up. I genuinely don't know what to expect out of the Boston game at all, because stuff just happens, right? Like, the super injured Avs already gave Vegas one of their 3 losses this year. So hockey's dope like that. I wouldn't bet on the Avs to win that game, but anything is possible. Okay, so look, I know I'm kind of reiterating myself here, but with the Avs lineup, any win is a good win right now.
That one felt good.
It did feel good. Any other final thoughts? Anything I missed, you want to touch on, Megan? Nope. All right.
No.
Sweet. I could do with the less 10-goal games. I will say that.
Yeah.
This one was a little hectic, to say the least.
This honestly was.
Hopefully that gets a little bit under control, but you take it however you can get it. We're going to get out of here for the night. Keep it short. Hope everyone has a good rest of your evening, as we're actually out of here at a reasonable hour for once after an Avs game. We appreciate all of you. We will be back tomorrow, normal 1 o'clock show. Hope to see you there. Until then, we will talk to you later.